The iPhone. On June 29th, 2007, Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone as a revolutionary device that would change the world forever. This wasn't just another phone, it was the first truly functional touchscreen interface that replaced physical keyboards completely. The 3.5-inch display with 320 by 480 resolution might seem tiny now, but back then it was groundbreaking. It featured a single home button design, a 2-megapixel camera without video recording, and here's the thing, there was no app store. You only got pre-installed apps, and that was it. The device ran on Edge network only, no 3G, and came in 4GB and 8GB storage options priced at $499 to $599. The aluminum back looked premium but scratched way too easily. iPhone 3G. On July 11, 2008, Apple launched the iPhone 3G, and this time they finally added 3G network support for much faster data speeds. But the real game changer was the introduction of the App Store, which literally created the mobile app ecosystem we know today. GPS functionality was also included for the first time. However, Apple made a controversial decision by switching from the premium aluminum back to a plastic one. Sure, it was more durable, but it felt significantly cheaper in your hands, and users were still incredibly frustrated because there was still no copy and paste functionality. iPhone 3GS. On June 19, 2009, Apple released the iPhone 3GS with some solid improvements. The camera finally upgraded to 3 megapixel and gained video recording capability. They introduced voice control, which was basically Siri's primitive predecessor that barely worked. The processor delivered 2 times faster performance, which was actually noticeable. And finally, copy and paste functionality arrived. They also added a digital compass for better navigation, but critics weren't impressed because the design looked absolutely identical to the iPhone 3G, making it feel like
same, but different.
iPhone 4. On June 24th, 2010, Apple completely revolutionized smartphones again with the iPhone 4. The Retina display at 960 by 640 resolution set entirely new pixel density standards that competitors couldn't match for years. This was a complete redesign featuring a stainless steel frame and glass back that looked absolutely stunning. The camera jumped to 5 megapixel with LED flash and HD video recording. But here's what was really cool. The front-facing camera enabled FaceTime video calls for the first time. They also added a gyroscope for much better gaming and AR capabilities. Unfortunately, antenna gate became a massive controversy when holding the phone incorrectly caused complete signal loss, and Steve Jobs famously said, "You're holding it wrong." iPhone 4S. On October 14th, 2011, Apple launched the iPhone 4S, and this is where things got interesting. Siri voice assistant completely revolutionized how people interacted with smartphones, even though it was pretty limited back then. The camera upgraded to 8 megapixel with 1080p video recording capability. The A5 dual-core processor boosted performance significantly over the previous generation. The antenna design was completely redesigned to fix those embarrassing reception problems. This was also Steve Jobs' final iPhone before he passed away, but many users were disappointed because it looked absolutely identical to the iPhone 4. iPhone 5. On September 21st, 2012, Apple finally made the iPhone taller with the iPhone 5. The display enlarged to 4 inches with 1136 by 640 resolution, which felt massive at the time. But Apple made a decision that absolutely angered millions of users. The Lightning connector replaced the beloved 30-pin dock, making all existing accessories useless overnight. On the positive side, LTE support delivered much faster data speeds. The aluminum unibody design made it significantly lighter than previous models. The camera gained panorama mode, which was actually pretty impressive. However, Apple made another controversial decision by replacing Google Maps with their own Apple Maps, which was an absolute disaster that got users completely lost. iPhone 5C. On September 20th, 2013, Apple tried something different with the iPhone 5C. Instead of premium materials, they went with colorful plastic backs in multiple bright colors. But here's the problem. It was essentially iPhone 5 internals stuffed into a cheaper plastic body. This was Apple's attempt at creating a budget iPhone, but it still cost way too much for most budget-conscious buyers and felt genuinely cheap compared to the premium iPhone models. iPhone 5S. Released alongside the 5C, the iPhone 5S introduced something truly revolutionary, the Touch ID fingerprint sensor built right into the home button. This completely changed smartphone security forever. The A7 chip became the first 64-bit smartphone processor, leaving Android devices years behind. The camera improved significantly with slow motion video recording at 120 frames per second. The gold color option became hugely popular and started the trend of multiple premium color options. But launching two iPhones simultaneously confused many buyers about which model they should actually choose: iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. On September 19, 2014, Apple finally admitted that bigger screens were necessary and introduced two sizes, the 4.7-inch iPhone 6 and 5.5-inch iPhone 6 Plus. This was huge because Apple had stubbornly stuck to smaller screens while Android phones kept getting bigger. But then, Bendgate became a massive controversy when the phones actually bent in users' pockets due to the thin aluminum design. The 6 Plus featured optical image stabilization for much better photos. Unfortunately, the protruding camera lens and slippery new design caused people to drop their phones constantly. iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. On September 25th, 2015, Apple introduced 3D Touch, a pressure-sensitive screen technology that could detect how hard you press. The problem was, most users never figured out how to use it properly. The camera made a huge jump to 12 megapixel with 4K video recording capability. Live photos captured moments before and after you took the shot, which was actually pretty cool. Apple used much stronger aluminum that finally fixed the bending issues from the previous year. Rose gold joined the color lineup and became incredibly popular, but 3D Touch never gained mainstream adoption and felt gimmicky to most users. iPhone SE, first generation. On March 31st, 2016, Apple surprised everyone by bringing back the beloved iPhone 5 design with modern internals. It featured the same 4-inch screen that small phone lovers missed, but packed the A9 chip and 12 megapixel camera from the iPhone 6s into the classic iPhone 5 body. At $399, it was Apple's most affordable iPhone in years, though it still felt expensive for a phone with such an old design. iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. On September 16th, 2016, Apple made their most controversial decision yet. They completely removed the headphone jack. The backlash was absolutely massive, but Apple claimed it took courage to make this decision, which became an internet meme. The iPhone 7 Plus introduced dual cameras for the first time, enabling portrait mode with beautiful depth effects. IP67 water resistance finally protected against accidental spills and drops in water. The home button became force sensitive rather than physically clickable, which felt weird at first. The new jet black finish looked absolutely premium, but was basically a fingerprint magnet that showed every single touch. iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. On September 22nd, 2017, Apple added wireless charging capability by bringing back the glass back design. The A11 Bionic chip included the first neural engine specifically designed for AI processing tasks. Cameras improved with new portrait lighting effects that could change the lighting after you took the photo. But here's the thing. These phones launched on the exact same day as the iPhone X, which made them feel completely outdated and irrelevant immediately. iPhone X also launched on September 22nd, 2017. The iPhone X was Apple's true vision for the future. The home button and Touch ID disappeared completely after 10 years. Face ID facial recognition technology replaced fingerprint scanning entirely. The edge-to-edge OLED display featured the controversial notch that housed all the Face ID sensors. Gesture-based navigation replaced the home button completely. And honestly, it worked really well. But the $999 price tag broke the psychological $1,000 barrier for the first time, shocking consumers worldwide. iPhone XS and XS Max. On September 21st, 2018, Apple improved the cameras with smart HDR processing that could capture much better photos in challenging lighting. The A12 Bionic chip delivered significantly faster performance and better energy efficiency. The XS Max introduced the largest iPhone screen ever at 6.5 inches, which was absolutely massive. But these felt like very minor upgrades that hardly justified the significant price increases, leaving many users disappointed. iPhone XR. On October 26, 2018, Apple released their budget iPhone X with some compromises. Instead of the premium OLED display, it featured a lower resolution LCD screen. The dual camera system was replaced with a single camera lens. Multiple bright colors returned, similar to the iPhone 5C strategy. but it was still way too expensive for most people looking for a budget option, and the thick bezels around the screen made it look cheap compared to the iPhone X. iPhone 11. On September 20th, 2019, Apple replaced the iPhone XR as their mainstream model with some major improvements. Dual cameras finally added the ultra-wide lens that people had been requesting for years. Night mode completely revolutionized low-light photography, allowing you to take incredible photos in almost complete darkness. Battery life improved significantly across the board, and for the first time in years, an iPhone actually felt like genuinely good value for money compared to previous generations. iPhone 11, Pro, and Pro Max. Released the same day, these Pro models introduced the triple camera system that added a telephoto lens to complete the camera trinity. Pro motion display technology with 120 Hz refresh rates made scrolling incredibly smooth, but only on the Pro models. The matte glass back replaced the glossy finish, which looked much more premium and didn't show fingerprints as badly. Apple finally included an 18-watt fast charger in the box. Unfortunately, the camera bump's design was absolutely massive and got mocked relentlessly online for looking like a stovetop. iPhone 12 series. On October 23, 2020, Apple brought back the beloved flat edge design that everyone remembered from the iPhone 4 and 5. 5G connectivity finally reached all iPhone models, though the real-world benefits were still limited. The revolutionary MagSafe magnetic charging system launched, creating an entire ecosystem of magnetic accessories. Ceramic Shield made the front glass significantly stronger than previous generations, but Apple sparked major controversy by removing the charging brick from the box entirely, claiming it was for environmental reasons. The iPhone 12 mini finally satisfied people who wanted powerful small phones, though it didn't sell very well. iPhone 13 series. On September 24th, 2021, Apple focused heavily on battery life improvements, delivering dramatically better battery performance across all models. Cameras were enhanced with cinematic mode that could record videos with professional depth of field effects. The notch size was finally reduced by 20%, though most people barely noticed. ProMotion 120 Hz displays reached the Pro models, making them incredibly smooth to use. Unfortunately, the design looked nearly identical to the iPhone 12, which disappointed users who were expecting more visible changes. iPhone 14 series. On September 16, 2022, Apple made a controversial decision. The base iPhone 14 received essentially no meaningful improvements compared to the iPhone 13, using the exact same A15 chip. The iPhone 14 Plus replaced the unsuccessful Mini with a larger 6.7-inch screen. But the Pro models got the brilliant dynamic island, which elegantly replaced the notch with an interactive pill-shaped cutout. Always-on display technology finally arrived for Pro models. Emergency SOS via satellite added crucial safety features for emergencies in remote areas. iPhone 15 series. On September 22nd, 2023, Apple was forced to adopt USB-C and finally replaced Lightning, but only because of European Union pressure, not by choice. The Pro models switched to titanium construction, making them lighter but more expensive. Cameras improved across all models with better computational photography. The action button replaced the traditional mute switch on Pro models, allowing customizable functions. However, Apple frustratingly limited the base model's USB-C ports to slow USB 2.0 speeds, while Pro models got full-speed USB 3.0. iPhone 16 series. On September 20th, 2024, Apple added the camera control button, which enhanced the photography experience with pressure-sensitive controls. The A18 chip was specifically optimized for Apple Intelligence AI features. Apple Intelligence capabilities launched with features like AI-powered writing assistance and photo editing, though many promised features were delayed until later software updates. Battery life and charging speeds saw moderate improvements, but nothing groundbreaking. iPhone 17 series. On September 15th, 2025, Apple finally brought ProMotion 120 Hz to the base iPhone 17 after keeping it exclusive to Pro models for years. The A19 chip delivered 20% faster performance with better efficiency. Base storage doubled to 256 gigabytes. The revolutionary center stage selfie camera used a 24 megapixel square sensor that automatically captured horizontal or vertical selfies without rotating the phone. The iPhone 17 Pro featured a major design overhaul with a camera plateau bar running across the entire back, looking remarkably similar to Google Pixel's camera visor that had existed for years. Apple controversially switched back from titanium to aluminum for better thermal management and added the first vapor chamber cooling system in iPhone history. Components were rearranged with the logic board moved to the camera bar, allowing more battery space below. Battery life jumped massively to 39 hours versus 33 hours on iPhone 16 Pro Max. The 48 megapixel telephoto camera returned to 4 times zoom, but with a much larger sensor than the previous 5 times camera. Only 3 colors were offered: cosmic orange, deep blue, and silver. The iPhone 17 Air replaced Plus models with a radical 5.6mm thin design at $999. It featured an A19 Pro chip with 1 GPU core disabled and eliminated physical SIM slots globally. Major red flags included terrible battery life requiring a dedicated MagSafe battery pack, overheating risks from titanium body with no vapor chamber, potential bending issues, and costing more than the base model while being inferior in almost every way except thinness. From a revolutionary device that couldn't even copy and paste text to an AI-powered ultra-thin computer that might overheat in your pocket, the iPhone has evolved from revolutionary breakthroughs to incremental evolution to genuinely questionable design decisions. The iPhone 17 Air proves Apple is still willing to take major risks, but whether they're the right risks remains to be seen. Which iPhone generation do you think truly changed everything?